Today I wanted to talk about my search for truth, and it covered a number of different areas in my life, and one of them was looking at the history of the Bible, of where it came from, who wrote it, who had influences on it over its entire lifetime. What I discovered was a recurring theme of the prophets trying to get the word across to the people they were speaking, but the powers of this earth overriding them. The original Old Testament was written by the Yahwist, who was King Solomon, who wrote down the books of Moses, the Psalms and the songs. And this version of the Bible that he wrote doesn't exist anymore today. We don't have access to it. It spread through Greek and through Egypt, that version. It kind of got carried on through the Greek culture, probably is the best version of that Old Testament that we have today. But the Bible went through history and through the Jewish history. We know that the Jews were conquered by the Babylonians, and they were taken prisoner and spent nearly 2 generations in Babylon. Well, Babylon was the city of the devil. Babylon was the home of human sacrifice, of animal sacrifice, of blood sacrifice. And the Jews spent 2 generations there. When they came back from Babylon, they rewrote the Bible. And this was probably the most critical rewritings throughout its history. And that is that all of this blood sacrifice that they experienced in Babylon became part of the Bible. And this is a pagan ritual used to access the spiritual beings, in the case of Babylon, the devil and his angels. And this got into the Bible. Now, as we go through time again, the Bible was rewritten a second time when the Temple of Solomon was rebuilt in the 3rd century BC. Now, by the time the Messiah came, the Jews didn't recognize him because the original words of the Yahwist had been lost. And so the Jews didn't understand the spiritual meaning that was in the Bible, that was given by the prophets, to expect the King of Heaven to come and to rescue them. They were expecting some physical king because they had lost the spiritual meanings of the prophets. Well, the New Testament was written. It was written by the apostles, and a similar thing happened to it. In the 4th century, Constantine, for example, changed the early Christian view of God and the King of Heaven to create the Trinity, this tribune of 3 in 1, which is nowhere in the Old Testament. It's also nowhere in the teachings of Jesus. This was a paganization of the New Testament teachings. And then again in the 6th century, the Emperor Justinian eliminated the loving teachings of the early Christians regarding the restoration of all humanity, and created an elitist view of Christianity. The elitist being that those who believe in Jesus will go to heaven and the rest will go to hell. This was used as a tool politically to rule over humanity. And then through the Reformation, we ended up not bringing Christianity together to the original teachings, but also just separating into different Christian sects. And today there are many, many different Christian sects. Not the one word that Jesus had promised.
Today we live in an age of information, and we can really do what Jesus told us to do, and that is to search for the truth. It's not being preached in the different sects. It is out there, and we can search for it, as I have done throughout my lifetime. So look for commonality between all these religion and all these sects, and don't worry about the things that separate us, but worry about the things that bring us together. And you'll find that all the religions of this world teach the golden rule: to love our neighbors, to love our enemies, and find that commonality which existed when Jesus had taught it, or when the prophets had taught it.